I'll bring it up again. But
Okay.
They should like spend a day having to rough it.
Yeah.
Sleep outside.
Do we have-
Monty.
All right.
is that everybody?
Yeah.
Everyone?
Is this
Okay.
everybody?
No, we're missing one person, I think.
Chris is feeding the baby.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Kristen, you're losing weight.
What?
You lost weight.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kristen, you look really good.
Thank you.
Really
Well, I
good.
didn't say that. I said you lost weight.
Okay.
Kristen, you look good. Not you, Josh.
I'll keep this pretty short. I want to thank everyone for being open-minded to my ideas, and I hope that you saw that I was flexible with my ideas as well, and maybe moving forward we can, continue working with some of those ideas. Just a couple housekeeping things as far as the website. It's still being looked over, and it is anticipated to go up tomorrow. The bartering list does have to be removed from the website because it needs to be handled more on an individual case-by-case basis, so it can be more closely tracked on the other side. Just so you guys are aware of that. I know also a concern was the tabloid and blog we had on this site. Just making sure that none of that content is put out too early or too specific, like about the elimination or anything like that. Just being aware of that. And then the date auction, I'm sorry, I'm just using this to give you guys updates too. And then the date auction, I'm going to wait until we pick the replacement, and then it'll go up that day so they can be a part of it as well. Those are all my updates. Sorry, guys. But thank you for being patient with me and being open to my ideas. And I hope you saw that all my ideas were presented in a positive way, and I wasn't trying to be negative in anything that I said. And just a quick minute, I want to share something personal because I don't always get to talk to you guys all. The last month has been trying for me in a lot of ways, emotionally, missing home, missing significant others, and all that fun stuff. And one thing I've learned, especially in the past few days that I've been in Rule, is the importance of not taking anything for granted in your life. I feel like I took a lot of things back home for granted, people, things that I had, and being here has really taught me that. So if you don't carry my capitalist thing moving forward, that's fine, but maybe just carry that thought with you. That's all I want to leave you guys with is don't take anything we're doing here for granted, or don't take anything you had before for granted, because you can lose it like that, and it sucks. So that's all I have to say, I guess.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
Okay, it's my turn for government here in Utopia, and I've decided to call it Mictopia. I've been thinking about that term a lot, even before I came here. I think it's sort of a great term that everybody can incorporate into their daily lives. With that said, my initial plan was to create a dictatorship where I would rule by crazy, and it would have been a lot of fun. However, I've noticed that the last 2 or 3, except for anarchy, everybody's been ruling by dictatorship, so I no longer feel that it's necessary. What I mean by that is maybe you said there was a democracy and there was a voting element with it, but the person who was in rule self-elected themselves as president, and I'm not going to do that. In fact, I want to have a real election and you guys vote for a president. It doesn't mean that that person has to stay when I'm over, but I just want to go through the exercise. I think my happened also, besides just the fact that I decided not to do a dictatorship, was there are people here besides the 14 or 15 of us. We've been discussing them from the beginning. They're a part of our lives, and I was fortunate enough to receive a vision from them. And 2 mornings ago, I woke up with a fully written proposal for a constitution. These people that are so important to us, that look over us, actually wrote this constitution. It just was translated through I'm a lefty, through my hand. So I'm going to read the preamble. I'm going to go through what's in it. It's kind of lengthy. It was a long dream, but I hope it makes some sense. If it doesn't, just blame it on the fact that it was kind of came to me through a dream. The preamble says, "To all whom shall come before the community of Utopia, we undersigned, delegates of this document, send our sincerest greetings and welcome each of you to contemplate a new vision of governance where your voice will be heard and your prosperity realized. Whereas we of the community recognize in total the below enumerated outlinings, governing bodies insist this day of October 1st, 2014, upon the absolute necessity to break with and navigate the future, the more organized, less burdensome system of government, or else perish under the burgeoning weight of confusion and waste in our current system. Whereas the below enumerated articles propose system of efficiency and checks and balances by which we can provide the protection of domestic tranquility, the promotion of general welfare, and the securing of blessings of a new liberty bestowed on all ye who shall reside in Utopia. And that's what I got. It was a little confusing to me, but I went to the final page, and it's signed by these delegates. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, and I should just read them to you, and then we'll continue. The first delegate was Tina Cece. The second delegate, I didn't know there was a total difference, was Nina Cece. There's also the Bobcat signed this. Michelle Bobcat signed this. A guy named Steve signed it. A guy named Stacy signed it. A person named the Tooth Fairy signed it. And then there's this new name which I don't recognize, but maybe it'll come up over the past few days, so don't worry too much about it. You will hear about this name throughout this Constitution. Is a guy named Donnie Chonkins. So we'll find out who Donnie Chonkins is coming along. So that was the preamble. It was just a bunch of highfalutin words. But basically what I found next were 4 articles. And they broke down the government into 4 parts. There's a Pioneer Council. There's a Chonkins. I don't know what that is. There's representatives, and there's a judiciary. So I just want to quickly go through this. It's not going to make a lot of sense. You guys are going to get bored. This is probably the most tedious part. But this is going to be available up on the kitchen refrigerator, and then it's going to be transcribed into the computer if we have a voiceover thing. If not, we'll just write it. The Pioneer Council is charged with 4 things. They deal with the collection and appropriation of group funds. They also devise and promulgate rules and guidelines. The council also monitors the confidence that the group has in elected officials. And finally, the Pioneer Council actually elects the group officials. Now, the council is comprised of all of us. It's all 15 of us. It's these meetings that we have. The only difference in this structured government is that the meetings only happen twice a week. They happen Monday and Thursday. Government business will be conducted between those days and among those days, but government processes can't be voted on and executed besides those days. And I'll go through the process quickly. Also, the meetings are to operate in a more strict manner so that they can be quick and we can be done with them. This council, first, as I said, deals with the collection and appropriation of group funds. In here it's called the purse. The purse includes all group money collected and distributed so they pay out to the major areas, which is something Amanda called. And these major areas are the barn, infrastructure, the kitchen, and the garden. The council also distributes personal money, which we've been dealing with. I'm not going to change the capitalist system. I think 80-20 is fine. If somebody else wants to change it, they can. I just kind of want to focus on this system. So those are the 2 things that deal with the purse. The Pioneer Council also elects a secretary to keep notes. And we've had a secretary, and she's been great. But these notes should mean more than they are. They're an actual record of our governmental existence here. So it's going to be broken down, and whoever gets elected secretary, I'm going to give them the way they do. And then these notes have to be transcribed onto the computer. They're brought to the next meeting the next time. They're reviewed. If there's no issues with them, then they become part of the formal record. Right now, it's just like notebook scraps, and I'm sure other people's notebooks are just filled with stuff. They also give us a history of what's been going on so that we can call on them. What I've been seeing a lot with rules and rules breaking is that the rules are changing a lot and they're being kind of slung at each other, and it's not as efficient. The Pioneer Council also asks each representative from the major areas to report on what's going on in those areas. Again, this is what I've taken from all of your guys' governments. I'm just trying to formalize it a little more. Each representative will speak at each meeting at a particular time in that meeting and give a report on what's going on. One of the things that they'll give a report on is their inventory and what kind of money they need to pay for whatever stuff's going on. The Pioneer Council will also call on an administrative report. The administrative report is led and held by the Chunkins. The Chunkins for us is going to be what some people call a president or a chairman or chairwoman or whatever you want to call it. I think we're going to adapt it as maybe, hopefully after my time, we'll call them the Chunkins. Finally, there'll be a time during the Pioneer Council meeting to bring up new business, which is separate from those reports, or old business that was left over from the prior meeting. And then, because I said the Pioneer Council has the opportunity to vote on and create rules and guidelines and regulations, there'll be a time to bring up new rules and regulations. These rules will be discussed. They'll be voted on for 3 ways. 1, pass, where we're going to pass a draft. 2, reject, or 3, table till a future time. If we pass it and it becomes a draft, then within 2 weeks that rule needs to be written down in a formalized version, reviewed with the group, and in by those 2 weeks it has to be voted on and approved. If it's not approved, then it just disappears. So basically, the sunset provision or guideline to come up with. That's that. There's one more thing at the end of every meeting, and maybe we can make it one of the meetings during the week. There's a call on monitoring issues, and that's to sort of find out if any of the elected officials have overstepped their boundaries, and there should be a formal inquiry process, and that'll come with the judiciary thing. If it's found that the Chunkins or the judiciary leader or whoever, our representative, has overstepped their boundaries and broken a rule and it's severe enough, then there'll be a vote of non-confidence. If the Pioneer Council decides that we're no longer confident in that leader, then they're out and they just become part of the group again. Also, as with every article, the Pioneer Council can update these as we see fit. It's an elastic, breathable document. Next, Article 2 is the Chunkins. And again, that's the president, the executive, the chairperson. But the first rule is the executive of Utopia shall be called the Chunkins. You'll find out who that is later. The Chunkins, their major role and responsibility is to set the agenda for each council meeting. It's a lot of back work before Monday morning or whatever time of the day our government meeting is, Monday and Thursday. One other rule which you guys might have a hard time with is the Chunkins can't also hold the position of a representative from one of the major areas. It creates an internal conflict of interest, and you don't see in our world out there a House member also being the President of the United States. It doesn't mean that the Chunkins has no influence. The Chunkin has tons of influence. They set the agenda, and they also meet with each representative to go over invoices, bills, all this stuff before each meeting. So they really do control the movement of the meeting. And as long as they're honest, they have everybody's interest in mind. The Chunkins also, another position that they lose is they don't have a vote in anything during the government meetings or the Pioneer Council meetings. The Chunkin does not have a vote. That leaves 14 people. If a vote is split 7-7, then the Chunkins cast the deciding vote. But I'm trying again to keep the Chunkins out of having a conflict of interest or siding with their friends too much. Whatever it is, because we're all friends here. I'll try to go fast. The Chunkins is in charge of all administrative duties. They oversee things, and as other governments have formed, they oversee things like accounting. They oversee things like the person in charge of chores and what Amanda had termed the lesser duties. The Chunkins is to be meeting with these people throughout the week to find out what's going on, if people are doing their chores, if the accounting is up and up, everything else. The Chunkins, he or she, is in charge of all these administrative duties. The Chunkins is not in charge of the representatives, but the representatives do have to report to the Chunkins, like I said earlier. It's up to the major areas to go and meet with the Chunkins within 24 hours of the next meeting and report everything that... Oh, there's an election process to elect the Chunkins. It's hard to run for something here because you don't necessarily want to put your neck out, but you also don't want to sit on the back burner. There's strong personalities here. So what I'm hoping for is for the Chunkins position that the Chunkins can be nominated by somebody. If you're nominated, that group of people that are nominated will come up, make a quick speech, and then there will be election by the remaining people. I don't know if that's the best system, but it's a quick and efficient system and it'll work. And don't forget that there's a non-confidence vote that can be brought up at any meeting or at least once a week that you could remove the Chunkins. We're kind of like France in that regard. We can dissolve the government and dissolve our leaders at any time. The reasons you should vote for non-confidence is because if the Chonkins violates a rule or a guideline or whatever. You know, it shouldn't just be personal, but that's up to you. You still have to get a majority vote. Next, Article 3 is the major area representatives. Each area will pick their own representative. I know you guys have called them leaders in the past. I just think representative is better in terms of government. That each individual area, you guys can decide however you want to have your representative. It could be your leader or it could be somebody different. I don't really care. But you do need to pick your own representative from your own area. That representative should be a true advocate for the area. They shouldn't just come here and play possum. They really need to fight for their area. If you think you need like $1,000 for kitchen money, then you should like advocate for $1,000. Of course, that proposal or resolution will come before the Pioneer Council, and they'll probably shoot it down, but that's up to you. Also, again, each representative has to report to the Chonkins within 24 hours, preferably before that, with any and all issues that are going on in that area. If that means ordering new food, it means ordering new food. If that means ordering new hay or whatever, that means ordering new hay. Whatever it has to do, they have to report within 24 hours. The only caveat to that is, as the Pioneer Council, you guys can vote on a resolution to streamline certain purchases. So for example, you could streamline, and I'll give you examples later on resolutions. And finally, the representative is kind of tasked with monitoring and maintaining their major area. Failure to do so will be brought up at the meeting, and I don't know what will happen, but I think punishment is stupid. Lastly, what they call out in the real world is the judiciary. From my vision, I've renamed the judiciary, or the presiding person watching over the judiciary, to be called the Tina Cece. The Pioneer Council will elect or appoint a Tina Cece in the same way that they appointed or elected the Chonkins. The Tina Cece shall preside over all disputes, or also the Tina Cece will deal with non-confidence reports. The Tina Cece has to write out a non-confidence report and address the Pioneer Council to explain why an elected official should disappear. Of course, if it's the Tina Cece that's up for non-confidence, then she or he shall recuse himself and somebody else will take over that position. As far as dispute resolution, in the real world, there's two kind of courts. There's courts that deal with things against the government, and then there's like conflicts between two or more parties. I've kind of like turned it into one, and I'm sure every lawyer is going to roll their head, but I don't think we need to get too specific. Basically, I have a system of dispute resolution. I'll go through it very quickly because it's the last thing. First of all, a dispute arises. The aggrieved party can come before the Tina Cece. The Tina Cece will decide whether the dispute raises to a level of an actual dispute, or if it's just what I've heard around here, just like a roommate dispute. In order for it to rise to the level of a real dispute, it means it has to have broken one of the rules or resolutions or things that we've set in our government here. There are some rules that we've come up with, but they haven't been edified at all. They haven't been like, they're not concrete at all. They're still just like ideas. And I'm hearing a lot, like when I first came here, I wanted rules. Nobody wanted rules. Now I'm hearing people want rules, but they're not necessarily using them except to like sling arrows at each other. So the Tina Cece does have some discretion whether a rule is an issue or not. Once the Tina Cece does decide that, if there is a rule an issue, if there is a alleged transgression, then the Tina Cece will give notice to all accused parties that this is going forward. The Tina Cece will also account for whatever the transgression is. So if somebody hits somebody, it's an assault. If somebody didn't do their chores, it's a chore violation, whatever. The Pioneer Council is going to have to write all these rules and resolutions formally, as I told you earlier. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, there's rules, but they're not being enforced at all. Next, the Tina Cece is going to appoint counsel for each party involved in the matter. Each person needs a representative to argue their case and to fight their case. That representative, along with the person that's accused or involved in the issue, will have 24 hours to come up with their facts. That's called the discovery process. It has to be quick here because we don't necessarily have a ton of time. But if it takes longer to, say, get a bill that somebody overpaid for or whatever, bring it before the Tina Cece and she'll decide even if it's a guy, we should call her a she anyway. She'll decide whether there can be extension of discovery time or collecting evidence time. Next, if those parties can't like reach an agreement and just like dismiss it because they're sick of doing this process, or if it's, you know, it just goes stale because some evidence was found and it's not a problem anymore, there'll be a request for trial and we'll have an actual trial. I know you guys don't like court, but like you're going to see throughout my time here in Utopia that court can be fun. The trial procedure, very quickly, each party or their counsel, lawyer, whatever you want to call them that's appointed, and they can have some say who represents them, will make a quick opening statement. The person who brought up the accusation will call the powder puff, and the person that's being accused of something will call the doggy dog, whatever you want to call them. The powder puff's case will go up first. The powder puff will be able to present actual evidence and facts, pictures, receipts, whatever it is. The powder puff will also be able to call up witnesses. Witnesses can talk, but the doggy dog can then cross-examine those witnesses to find out the truth. And that's going to be fun, I think. Everybody's always wanted to play a little Judge Judy. I'll go through more of that and what evidence we can use and can't use when this stuff happens. Finally, the doggy dog will the powder puff will rest their case, the doggy dog will rest their case, and then the trial's over. The Tina CC will go in one room, the Pioneer Council will go in the other room because they've all been there for a trial, and they decide on a verdict. If both verdicts are the same, then the Tina CC will administer the sentencing. We don't really have sentencings as far as I'm concerned, but I think the only thing to do is put up on that little dry erase board that Mike overbought from his personal account and he fucked over the group. Just put their name up. Or Josh punched Rob in the face, or whatever the verdict was. If, however, the Tina CC and the Pioneer Council or group, the rest of the group, decide that yeah, he did it and yeah, he didn't do it, then it's up to the Pioneer Council to decide what happens. So it's up to the group to decide the sentencing, and that enters into an area of I guess the Tina CC is going to be much more conservative in their sentencing. But if the Pioneer thinks somebody did it and the Tina CC doesn't, then they can do whatever they decide to do. There's one more thing. We really need to like enact actual rules and guidelines here. Each major area can bring up resolutions before the council. Those resolutions have to do with what they have to do with. So those resolutions can deal with the fact that, you know, all hammers and tools and everything must be like lined up at the workstation at the end of the day. Somebody's in charge of that. If they don't do that, they get a spanking, whatever. Or it could be something more like nobody can bug me about this. And if you get a majority vote in the council, then that's a new resolution that's been passed. Again, I'll go through the bill process later on, and you guys can read this. Lastly, like I said, when there's an issue with elected officials, the Tina CC will write up a report, read it to the group, and then the group council will vote for non-confidence to remove that person. So, you know, just because somebody's in power today doesn't mean they will be in power tomorrow. It's a very quick process. Some would say it doesn't give people enough time to establish their power, but that's probably a good thing because I'm sick of people establishing their power. And I also have examples of guidelines. So, for example, maybe the barn wants to streamline the process of paying vets. We can't wait until Thursday to pay the vet when we know the vet's coming on Wednesday. So maybe the Pioneer Council will say that every time a bill is owed to the vet, it automatically comes out of the purse. With that said, that doesn't mean that the barn can call on the vet whenever they want, because we don't want to have to deal with that. So these rules that we write have to sort of account for a lot, and they take time to think things out. They're not just like basic, like, thou shalt not pay bills without group approval. There's a lot of intricacies to each of these rules, and I'm hoping we have the patience to deal with them. The other reason I'm having the meeting only twice a week is because I'm like, is it really that important to buy yeast on a Wednesday? You know what I mean? Like, we can kind of like wait until Thursday. Is it really that important to buy pots and pans on Sunday? Monday's coming right around the corner. Let's stop this like impulsive purchasing and decision making. I want things to become more like methodical and like give people time to think about stuff. It's an impulsive society is a society in my mind that's not going to last too long. And I'm not accusing anybody of being impulsive, but let's at least put some restraints on ourselves so that we can be more thoughtful about moving forward. I hope that wasn't total Greek to you guys. I'm sure you're bored. Maybe the wind's like going that way so you didn't hear me, and that would be fine too. But I'd like to hold an election soon for the Chonkins and for the Tina Cece. So it doesn't have to be like a huge process. If you guys want to nominate people right now, and then later on we can vote on them, that would be great. And it doesn't have to be me at all. I don't care who it is. Like, it doesn't matter.
Can we do that now?
Sure.
I nominate Rob for the
Okay.
Chonkins and Ernesto for the Tina Cece.
Okay.
I want to nominate Dedeker for, and I second Ernesto for the Tina Cece.
Okay. We don't have a second. Oh, can you guys
I
vote on a
second
second?
for Rob and third for Ernesto.
Okay. Anybody else want to nominate anybody? We need to vote for a secretary too.
Oh, Kristen for secretary.
Okay.
I second that.
I third it.
Okay, so can we have a group vote, or does anybody else want to nominate anybody?
How many people are in the Chonkins? Just one?
One person.
I don't know. I
What-
nominate Mike for Chonkins.
And what
I
about
second that.
Tina Cece?
Yeah, I nominate Mike too for Tompkins.
Wait, you just voted already.
Bella doesn't get to vote.
This is why we need a secretary. I'm confused. Go ahead.
For Tina
For
Cece.
Tina Cece, what about Chunkins?
Chonkins, Aaron.
Oh, fuck. All right. It's like every... Amanda?
Nominate you for Tompkins.
Okay, and what about Tina Cece?
If I had to choose, it'd be Rob.
Okay. Anybody else want to nominate people?
I nominate you for Tina Cece.
And what about Chunkins?
I don't know.
Amanda. Okay, cool.
I nominate Mike for Tina Cece too.
All right, so
There's so much.
I don't know what just happened here, but because Kristen's the secretary and she doesn't have a pen. So why don't we have a vote? Let's just say who we all nominated. Tina Cece. We'll start with Tina Cece. Who's on the list?
Nikki.
Ernesto and you.
Ernesto and you.
Ernesto, Nikki, and you.
And Nikki.
And then for Chonkins?
Rob.
Dedeker.
Mike.
Rob, Dedeker, Mike,
And Aaron.
and Aaron.
Anybody else?
No.
No? So, do you want to vote in public or private? It's up to you guys. I don't care. Public?
Public.
Okay. It's really no big deal because, like I said, anytime there, so. Or if the group
In that
hates
case,
them
I vote
on a
for Rob.
majority
So the people who
vote.
are nominated don't vote for their spot, right?
No, they can. Who cares? All right, what do you think? No?
No.
Okay, fine. They can't.
Actually, yeah. If you want to vote for yourself.
I mean, don't you think that
confident,
Obama
you should be able
voted
to
for
vote
himself? Or? I don't know why I keep talking about Obama, but anyway. Okay. All those. First, we'll do the Tina Cece vote. Oh no.
Are we
First, we'll.
all in accordance that Kristen is secretary?
Yeah.
now?
First, we'll do the secretary vote. Who votes for Kristen to be secretary?
Yay, Kristen. Like she.
Unanimous.
Any nays?
Unanimous.
No nays. Sorry, Kristen. That's a big job. Okay. Tina Cece. Who votes for Ernesto to be the judge, jury, and
Who else
executioner?
is up for it?
Oh, it's Ernesto, Nikki, and me.
Who was
Okay.
for Ernesto, you said?
Who votes for Ernesto? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a majority, right?
That's
Out
it.
of 14. Oh no, it's a split.
Split.
It's a split. Who votes for Nikki? 1. Who votes for Mike? 6. Okay, so it's Ernesto. Well, it has to be 7
Well done,
plus
bud.
1 is 8 plus 6 is 14.
Mathematically, it's still
Welcome to the CC.
And I can, Ernesto, if you want, I mean, I should talk to you about how to be a Tina Cece.
Okay.
Because I did have the vision. Okay, now for the real election. The Chonkins. Nobody knows what a Chonkins is yet, but they'll find out. Who votes for Rob?
Who's nominated?
Oh, here's the nominees. Rob, Dedeker, Mike, and Aaron. Who votes for Rob to be the Chonkins? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sons of bitches.
Who votes for Dedeker to be the Chonkins?
I'll vote for myself.
1,
Why not?
2, 3,
Oh, I didn't vote for myself.
4.
I want to vote for myself.
Yeah, you can vote for yourself.
I vote for myself.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back.
It's 5. 5 for me. I didn't realize I got vote for myself.
Okay, 5 for Rob.
Yay! I forgot.
3 for Dedeker, right?
Power, every single power.
I saw Dedeker raise her hand. I'm like,
Why don't we just call it Robtopia?
It's Mike-topia this time. Who votes for Dedeker? 1, 2, 3, 4. Who votes for Mike? 1, 2. Oh, I didn't want to be it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I should.
So Rob
Yeah,
won.
4.
Raise your
well,
hand, Mike.
Fuck.
Rob won that one. Oh, 5.
I'm having a conflict
hey,
of
do you
interest
concede?
within myself.
Hey, wait. Do you concede?
No, tiebreaker.
Okay, fine, tiebreaker. But I don't really. I wanted to be the advisor. But anyway, who votes for Aaron for Chonkins? 1. Okay.
I didn't vote for myself.
0.
I already voted.
It sounds like it was really fun. Would it be more fun if you did it or
No,
Oh, wait,
I just want to.
Never mind, because
That's
Ernesto who nominated me for to go up.
Yeah,
so
so
Ernesto
my
voted
vote-
for me. So
You're
that
0. Wait,
So
what?
one vote for you.
I'm picking you out.
He's taking your vote away. So Rob wins.
Ernesto's not even voting right now.
Rob wins
Are
that.
you allowed to vote? No, I'm kidding. All right, so.
Rob wins that.
Who both voted for that?
All right. Yeah, he's officially a member, so he can vote. So, like, I concede because I really,
Thank you.
I want to be here as
Thank
an advisor.
you. Settle down. Settle down. Settle down.
Rob Chunkins.
For all the haters, you will be dealt with.
All right. Don't forget that you guys have to abide by the guidelines. If you don't abide by the guidelines, it's just a dictatorship again, and that's not really what I'm interested in proving this 3 days or 4 days or 12 days.
Part of the council, right?
Yeah, you guys are the council. Okay, why don't the major areas throughout the day decide who they want to be their leader / representative, whatever you call it. The major areas are the kitchen food, that's 1. The barn is 1. The garden's 1. Amanda, could you help me out? Oh, infrastructure.
Infrastructure, yeah.
Okay.
All for
My area things which have to report to Rob, and Rob has to report to them. That's like chores, that's like accounting, finance, and he can also create new ministries on money.
Rob's loving it.
That's up.
President, and technically his title.
He's a
is
Chonkin.
So
I'm the
I would like to
Chonkins.
vote to impeach.
non-competence.
There of chores and whatever else. So, hey, I think this is. You guys suggest, but sometimes all that glitters isn't gold, and sometimes boring is fun. So who knows?
So wait, what are the cat? What's aren't we have? What's the?
What?
So our first meeting is tomorrow, right? Thursday.
Yeah.
This is our first meeting.
Fuck. Let's just because we have to have a meeting before the weekend. So
Yeah.
let's just do like 12 o'clock, and we'll try to keep it short. I'm sorry that there's like a meeting today and tomorrow. I don't like government.
This is a force meeting.
I wanted to have a garden meeting today, or maybe not today, but
Well,
if
deal with that in the garden, within your garden group.
well, do I have to like go through the structure
No,
to ask for a meeting?
It sounds like you're the representative of the garden. So.
I don't know if I'm voted that yet.
We'll
but-
the garden group can get together, the infrastructure group can get together, the barn group can get together. There might be some overlap, whatever, and the kitchen food group can get together. You might need somebody new for the kitchen food group. I don't know. You guys got to figure it out. That's why you have strong representatives.
I just take notes and type them.
Yeah, you and I got to sit down.
Attorney.
Chonkin, is
About the
guys, if you have complaints, violations that have occurred, you have to write them. So we need all those rules written out and voted on tomorrow. And then you can start violating people, whatever, bringing up accusations.
Violating
picking
people.
out rules we think should be made.
Yeah,
into
like for
bills.
example, the first week we had like no assault battery or whatever you guys want to call it. Like you can't threaten violence and you can't perpetrate violence on another person with intent. So those are 2 rules we have to write out and we can vote on them. We also had rules like don't overspend on your account, on your overdraft on your accounts. That was a rule. We had rules like if you're going to order stuff. Now hopefully this structure will eliminate a lot of But if you're going to order stuff, you have to go through what I call the Pioneer Council now. If you ordered stuff outside of the Pioneer Council and it wasn't understood to be part of that order, then that's a violation and we could have a possible trial. Of course, like settlements and stuff are always an opportunity, but like it's probably going to go to a trial because that's been a big issue for a while, and it's like a parasite. It just keeps jumping from me to you to you to you to you, all violating it. If you didn't do your chores, that's a violation. The violations obviously are stronger than others. The trial will kind of like accordion depending on like how vulgar each of these like things are. I didn't have time to write up a penal code, but as you guys bring these things, we can organize them in like immediacy, grave danger to like what a chunkins. But you know,
Okay.
well, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
I was gonna say. Jeez.
Careful what you.
We
put-
missed somebody really important. We didn't put Stump Dumplings up for election.
Oh, actually, Stump Dumplings came late, so he wasn't part of the initial delegates that shown this to me in their vision. But again, I just want to give a round of applause to Tina Cece, Donnie Chunkins, Nina Cece, the Bobcat, Michelle Bobcat, the Tooth Fairy, Steve, Stacy, and Josh, what was your character's name?
Blanco Chocolate.
And Blanco Chocolate. Because they are watching over us. They are watching over us. They're an integral part of our community. If they don't come to you in visions at night in your sleep, they don't like you. So that's it, guys. I hope that wasn't too annoying, and I'm hoping it'll help with going on or whatever. Nature, and this is just trying to direct human nature towards prosperity realized.
I appreciate the amount of work that you put into that.
I do too.
Thanks.
And I appreciate your votes.
I knew you
And
were
those
gonna
who
say it.
didn't,
We looked right at me. Impeach, impeach, impeach.
You're welcome for the nomination.
I'm forming a guerrilla unit after this.
Hey, I need to bring something up just because of what happened to my presidency and kind of quell the rumors. Aaron, what was ordered by the kitchen the other day?
You could have just walked to me and
Just go to some.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can we just do like
yeah.
the formalized process?
Yeah, thanks.
Because can we just do the formal process?
How does
Because
that
we
work?
didn't have a formal process before. And
How does
You have
that
to
work?
write out your complaint.
okay, no,
Okay.
write out the violation that we thought it was, and
Okay.
then we'll meet about it tomorrow and write out your complaint too, since the time
So
is.
your complaint would technically be like ordering without permission.
Yeah, exactly. But whatever you think the rule is, and
Independent
if you
ordering
need help
without
from me or from the CC, like, and we'll do it fast. In tomorrow's meeting, we'll get that going.
All right.
And anybody else who has issues, because I think like we're gonna have a backlog of violations because we haven't had a structure to deal with it yet. So, you know, if somebody else had come up with a structure before, it would have been helpful. But I was waiting for that vision. So.
I'm excited to implement this.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
Excellent vision.
I might even do
Excellent.
this on mine.
Thank you to the Tina Cece.
Yeah. Who's the Tina CC?
I mean the
ephemeral
Pantheon.
Tina
The
Cece.
Pantheon. Thank you to the Pantheon.
And I'm sorry because you did get that thing sprung on you, but can we at least try this just to, I mean, there's still going to be a trial and everything else. Can we at least try this to,
So it can be retroactive then?
yeah, to an
That's going to
extent.
cause some issues.
Yeah, that's why I said there's a backlog. But I hope you guys use your own discretion in bringing these charges. And if you know, like, if you don't have evidence and stuff, the Tina CC might kick it out or whatever. But like, we do this the right way. If there were serious violations before, I think, you know, it's hard. Usually rules are written after violations. That's how the system goes. It's like we didn't realize that was egregious until it happened, and then we write a rule about it. So in the natural world outside there, it wouldn't, nobody would care. But like, because I don't want everybody to be so upset because of what happened in the last few days, I think it should be brought in. But that's something that the council can decide on. I'm just part of the council.
Okay.
Let's have lunch.
Thank you.
what do you eat?